Why don't we go ahead and get started? Welcome again, everyone. Many of you have been attending these bi-weekly informational meetings on relocation. We're getting closer to that time when we start and begin relocation. So we'll go ahead and get into our presentations. David Alonia, the director of our real estate development department, is going to start things off with the overview of the master plan. Good morning, David.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Are you gonna bring up?
Yes, sir. 1 second. Can you see that, David?
Yeah, I can see it. All right. Well, but it's showing next slide. Is that okay? That's fine. All right. Can everybody see it? Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can. I can see it and hear you.
Are you seeing one slide or what? Can everybody hear me though? Because last time there was like.
Yeah, we can hear you,
Yeah, we
David.
can hear you, David.
Okay. Yeah.
We're seeing both. We're seeing both screens, but we can still see it.
Yeah, that's what I don't know. Thought. Yep.
How's that?
Yeah, but if you can pull, yeah, those ones, you still have that. If you can go to start. Yep. Okay. That's fine. Good morning, everyone, and welcome again for our informational meeting for Robles Park redevelopment. What you have is the master plan that you all participated on that we finalized early part of this year. But that's the area three-dimensional view of the plan. Next, Todd.
Okay, bear with me. I'm having.
It goes back to 2 slides.
Yes, I see that. I don't know what's different about today.
So the community outreach, of course, community outreach was the process which we used to reach out to all the participants, the community, the steering community, the focus, the residents, and we use website and social media to reach out to those who weren't able to attend. Remember now, this was at the height of COVID, but I think we did well regarding the number of workshops and the meetings that we had and the number of people that participated. So that helped us to get a lot of information and feedbacks from the community, from the residents, from the city, county, the steering committee and focus group, those who have viable interest within the community. Next. And these are the topics that we discussed during those meetings. We talked about housing, transportation, improvement. We talk about the child services and opportunities for adult amenities, because part of the problem was access to amenity. Surrounding amenities, the access was limited. This was some of the concern that was brought up, the healthy food and overall health improvement. Next. And also we put out a survey. Through that survey, of course, we were able to reach a lot of folks and participants and the surrounding community members. And this is the general concern, because out of all the information that we brought in based on our meetings, we were able to categorize them in 4 groups that we call pillars. This will help us to sort of concise the concern in a uniform way to where they belong. And then beyond that, these are the general concern relates to other issues that didn't fit in directly into those pillars. So there are the environmental issues. There are, how do we preserve the the oak tree, the resident wanted them to be preserved, the Zion Cemetery, and the conditions of the new development, what type of ACs and so forth, transportation, access and connectivity and so forth, and as well as security as well. Okay, next. And this is what we came up with in terms of the pillars, the education pillar, the health and wellness, the basic needs, and also we have jobs and economic and vitality. The basic needs has to do with housing provision and so forth. So these are we call it the community resource hub. In other words, all the concerns that we have lifted and gotten feedback from the residents will be confined into this building envelope that we call the hub. It's going to be a 50,000 square feet facility. Maybe should be managed by a third party nonprofit entity that will be managing that facility, and that's where all the services will be located. We're talking about the basic needs, wraparound, the health clinic, health wellness facility, technology center, job connection, and so forth, and mobility center and family counseling. All that will be services that this hub that we call hub will provide, and that will be in a centralized location of the site. Next. And in terms of how this will function, this is all conceptual. For example, housing and basic needs. What happens is that if somebody then has need relating to housing, they will walk into this facility, and that facility will have all categories or elements of housing needs, services that will be provided through this facility, relating to food and insecurity, housing stability, safety and security, technology access, child care, on-site emergency medical care, as well as transportation. And those members, the partners will be providing the services. As you walk in here, the concierge will then link you to a service navigator who will then connect you based on the assessment that they will conduct on the person seeking the needs. Seeking services. They will then direct them precisely to any of these services here, service providers. And that will be wraparound service. THL will be here. Hillsborough County will be here. When I say THL, I mean PPS, Property and Program Property Services, Health and Health Start Coalition, on-site child care provider, and Feeding Tampa Bay. So there's going to be a lot of needs and providers that will be housed into these facilities. And this is how conceptually all the pillars will be structured, so that if you have any need, you walk in and then the concierge will direct you to the service navigator and they will provide the services for you. Next. And this is health and wellness services. Again, the same thing. In that, you will have providers like Hillsborough County, Baycare, Tampa Family Health Center, and then Tampa General. And they will be there to provide services. If there's anything that they need to refer you to or transfer you that is not being provided within this facility, we have partners that are not listed or not stationed within the facility, but you will be connected directly from this pillar or service providers to that center. And then you're looking at the THL Mobile Center will be there as well, providing services that will be manned by PPS. And the services, again, will range from primary care, dental services, mental health service, wellness. Again, providing services to our seniors related to fitness center, wellness assessment, nutrition center, teaching kitchen, wellness professionals. And there's going to be a lot of services that will help one towards the benefit of your health. Next. And the cradle to career, again, this is critical from young age. The importance of education will be instilled in that child to know that education is power. Through education, of course, you will attain a better job and attain a better living. And particularly during summer, during the holidays, they want to make sure that residents or kids or including adults are connected to level of education that will keep them composed and not deviate from their goal. So services will range from tutoring, cultural activities, social and emotional counseling. And those who will be pursuing colleges, there will be tuition assistance, job plus initiative. There will be entrepreneurship and work readiness and financial literacy training. There will be a lot of services, and some of these services also will be coming from our THA, Program and Property Services, that links connectly to our residents, providing contact to them in terms of jobs that we have available and training through all the activities that we have, including construction site and so forth. But this is where it is critical that that person is engaged so that they will take advantage of all the services that will be provided to make sure they enrich the educational level. Next. And this is jobs and economic. Again, it will relate to similar to some of that education, and then job navigators and Tampa Housing Authority, Career Source, and CDC will be service providers in this pillar. Of course, through our push for our residents to establish their own program as a Section 3 MBE, we will have link them directly to some of the activities that we have ongoing. And there will be help allowed through our PPS, who will be directly linked to them. And then you have some of the services that will be provided will be computer lab, computer training, remote learning program, computer literacy, soft skill, business incubator, financial advisory office will be located there as well. So some of the remote services will be a job training program, apprenticeship, community college courses will be there to prepare that person for better job earning. Of course, there will be counseling and so forth, professional development skills to obtain and retain employment. There's going to be a lot of services that will be provided through this pillar. Next. And this is the master plan, which again, roughly 35 acres, including the cemetery here, design cemetery to your left. And the centralized building here will be that hub that we were just talking about, which is that 50,000 square feet. The senior building will be towards the south, the two building here, EE. The senior building, Todd, what you're circling is the market rate development is the 77 units towards the gateway. This park, the senior, is to the next to the hub. And there, yeah, those are the senior buildings. And they will be close to the park, giving the senior access to the open ground where they can actually have freedom to have an access to outdoor activities. And then the roundabout area, sort of a partial roundabout that brings you, that's the memorial walk, and that will bring you to the cemetery. It's a seashell concept that sort of mimics some of the materials, the seashell that was unearthed when we were going through the process of reviewing what was covered up in the cemetery. So that brings you there, so sort of to bring a memory in terms of the process and what has happened to that site. And then towards the northern area, that's where you get the big apartment buildings facing towards Martin Luther King. And that fits well as it buffers into the commercial area. And those little buildings here on the side, on the perimeter, blends effectively to the context, to the surrounding residential development that fits that scale. Those are the homeownership for sale. And then, of course, you have the commercial, the mixed use, the grocery store, which is the 11. And then the 12 is the commercial public use, which is the to your right, the far right. 12. So this is how, for now, the concept is laid out. As you know, it will always be tweaked once we begin to go through the actual redevelopment. We're looking, as we have it today, roughly over 1,000 units, 1,012 to be exact, when you add up all the units that we have now. So we're gonna go from 433 units to about 1,012 units. So that's making better use of that site. Next. And that's the three concept of the symmetry. The very simple. The first one is just to show the location where the remains were found, to protect it so that it will be respected. And the second will be the same profile, but in this case, just showing some of the building, Robles Park building, the apartment building that encroach into the site, and that is put in there for nostalgia, so that people will remember once upon a time that footprint is reflecting to the days where people, you know, when the building was there. So when we demolish it, that footprint, that profile will be shown. And the third is just to sort of reflect the presence of water and swell and balm. Water represent life, indicating the remain, those people that thought to be forgotten live forever, and they are not forgotten. But it becomes a park setting where people will actually come to celebrate life as opposed to mourning. And those are the three concepts. We don't know which one, and it could be elaborated more once we begin the redevelopment. Next. And this, the couple of next slides just showing the participation of our residents, which shows your impact, your feedbacks, in, you know, the collaboration, which is exactly what we wanted in this case, to make sure that the resident participated in the process. And you participated in the process, so the outcome is a collective effort from the developers, from the planners, and from the housing authority, and also from the residents. So that's what we have. But if you have any question, I'm here to respond, to answer. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, David. And I just want to remind everyone, if you have a question, just type it out in the chat, and then we'll address it after each presentation. Do we happen to have any questions, Rosa, for David or anyone?
No, sir, there are no questions in the chat.
Okay, very good. Our next presenter will be Mr. Bill Jackson. Mr. Jackson is the Director of Public Safety and Community Patrol. Bill? You may have your mute on.
Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. Todd, can you bring up my slideshow, please? Thank you. First of all, I'd like to introduce everybody to myself and my staff to everybody. I'm Bill Jackson. As Todd said, I'm the Public Safety Director for the Tampa Housing Authority. I also have a Tyrone Dreyer. He's the Public Safety Manager. Tyrone comes from Jamaica and has over 15 years of experience as a detective. He was a senior detective with the Constabulary Force. His caseload include armed robbery, arson, and homicides. I also have Elijah Najam. He has over 10 years of experience in the security field, including working at the Miami-Dade Housing Authority. Mr. Timothy Newton comes with over 15 years of experience while working as a military police officer in the security field. Mr. Luis Jimenez has over 12 years of security experience with the Puerto Rican Public Housing Authority Administration. And then Mr. William LaFond has over 11 years of security experience working with Atlanta Housing Authority. And then, of course, we have Christopher Irving. He's a senior community patrol officer. He worked for 15 years with the New York Transit Authority, PD, and then he came to Tampa, and now he's working with the Tampa Housing Authority. So we're all here to serve you. Currently, Christopher Irving and let me see, William LaFond, I'm sorry, William LaFawn and Christopher Irving are currently patrolling your community. Their hours are 12 p. until 11 a. Monday through Sunday. The phone numbers Chris can be reached at is 813-392-9351. And then Mr. LaFond, he can be reached at 813-245-4753. Now, when you call him, if this is an emergency, please call 911 first, and then go ahead and call them. But again, I want to reiterate, it's important that you call any kind of police matters, you call 911 first and then call my officers. Okay, we want to move on to the next slide, Todd, please. Okay, we've also purchased some top technology. They're called Lock Cops. They have infrared cameras on them and also high density, high def cameras on the systems. They're monitored 24/7. They have a direct link to TPD. TPD can also monitor them. The managers are able to monitor them as well. They are very durable. We had an incident about 2-3 months ago where an individual took a tire and soaked it with oil, put it underneath the camera and torched it. And we actually thought it was going to be a total loss, but it actually only damaged some of the cables and everything, and the cameras were still functional. They had to replace one of the cameras, only that because of some electronical, but I was really surprised. Total damage was less than $1,800. So they are there. And again, they've been very useful to us. They've been able to bring at least 7 suspects to court over using guns and felony assault. So we've got them at Robles Park, currently 2 units. Next slide, please, Todd. Currently, the Tampa Police Department has having a road patrol officer working 7 days a week at Robles Park from 1 p.m. until 3 p.m. And again, if you see the officer, stop by, say hi to him. If you want to just talk to him or you have any information, they'd be more than happy to discuss it with you. Next slide, Todd, please. Okay, now we got the public safety hotline. And what it is an anonymous hotline. If you don't want to leave your name or anything else, but you want to give us some information, please use this number. It's 813-344-3220. Okay, when you call, please leave as much information as you can. Descriptions, the more information you give us, the easier for us to run down the information. If you find, if you have an individual of individual characteristics, for instance, I have a scar on the top of my head. So you might describe me as a white male, approximately 60 years of age, balding gray hair, and he's got a large scar on the right side of his head. That's something that's going to help us identify the suspect that you're talking about. And again, this is anonymous. You don't have to leave your name, but the more information you can give us, the better off we are, and we're going to be able to resolve the situation. Next slide, Todd. Okay. Public safety and the safety of community, okay, is a joint effort. It's a team effort. That's residents, okay, executive staff, TPD, management, PPS, everybody working together for one goal, and that's the safety of our residents in the communities, okay? And our leadership, Mr. Jerome Ryan, President and CEO, and Mr. Moore, our Senior Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, excuse me, this is near and dear to them. We believe in public safety, we all do. We invest a great deal of money and time into that, and again, the only way it's going to work is we have resident cooperation. So we are here for you. Please use us. And thank you very much. I appreciate your time. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Good morning again. There are no questions in the chat, but there was a comment that I am impressed with the public safety team and the plan. And that was from Mr. Michael Randolph.
Thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you, Mr. Randolph.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bill. Our next presenter will be Ms. Stephanie Brown Gilmore. Ms. Stephanie is the Director of Support Services, and she's going to speak about support services and introduce her staff.
Good morning. Thank you, Todd. Good morning, everyone. Just real briefly, what I'd like to do, sorry about that. what I like to do is my staff that are working on this site all the time, I always like to make that introduction to you all. So I will do that, but I want to continue to reaffirm that everything that Mr. Alonia made in his presentation, those services, some of those services are going on currently now on site. And I want the residents to know that if you need anything, don't hesitate. Even though we're still in a lockout because of COVID, don't hesitate to go to that resident service, that PPS office on site and knock on the door and make sure that someone comes. Someone's generally in that office all the time. So they will come and answer any questions if you need to have them answered. Your questions are really important to us. Any inquiries that you make are very important to us and can be answered. At the time of relocation, as I said, David Alonia has informed you all of the services that will be ongoing, as well as new services that will be available. And just a few to re-hit on them: our healthcare, which will include food and nutrition and access to healthy foods; tutoring, GED or high school diplomas, whichever your choice should be; any extended opportunities that include high school diplomas and or college or junior college; extended youth services, job training and job development, and job opportunities; childcare assistance. And let me continue to make you aware that case management is always available. I'm going to take the time, if I can, as I stated earlier, to introduce you again to Janice DeManzi and Rosa Hill on my staff. Janice is going to talk to you briefly about some of the current programs, again, that are available on site to the Robles Park residents. And Rosa, who will lead our case management team at the time of relocation, will talk to you about case management and supportive services during and after relocation. Again, I'd like to remind you that our services are detailed in the master plan. And if you have any difficulty accessing that plan, please do not hesitate to contact any of the staff, both in the property management office as well as the PPS staff, and Michael Randolph and Ms. Reba. They both know how to access the information. I want to thank you again today for your time, and Janice, if you will.
Thank you, Stephanie. Good morning, everyone. Todd, can you pull up the slide, please? We have our at Robles Park Job Readiness and Employment Services. It provides resume writing, employment search strategies, interviewing techniques, employment workshops, job placement, workplace essentials, and job retention services. The contact is Shante Abdullah, our job developer. Next slide. We have our tax credit tools, T3. It's funded by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. It provides earned income tax credit education and tax prep services, financial workshops, and referrals for support services to individuals in Hillsborough County ages 24 to 64. You can receive up to $100 in incentives for completing the financial workshops. The contacts is Legna Ortiz, Cherie Calloway, and Sharitha Parnell. I will be putting the contacts in the chat after my presentation. Thank you. Next slide. Robles Park has a housing support services. It's funded through the Children's Board of Hillsborough County. It provides financial workshop to individuals ages 18 and up in Hillsborough County. And if you participate, you can receive up to $80 in incentives for completing the financial workshops. And the contact person is Eileen McCoy, the Housing Counseling Support Specialist. Next slide. We have the Village Link Up program that is provided by Hillsborough County Children's Board. It provides case management, tutoring support, educational workshops, support services to parents with elementary age children. Services also include counseling and crisis services. Residents will receive $25 gift certificate, after they enroll into the program. And there's case managers that you can contact if you're interested in that program, and I will put them in the chat afterwards. Next slide. We have our Anti-Gang Initiative Delinquency Prevention Program, which is funded by the Office of Juvenile Justice. The target youth ages 8 to 15 at-risk youth for gang and violence. It provides positive out-of-school education and recreational activities to redirect youth into making positive choices. And the contact for that program is DeJuan Morgan, Assistant Youth and Sports Manager. Next slide. And now I'll turn it over to Rosa Hill for Case Management Services.
Good morning, everyone. In addition to all the services that Mr. Alona mentioned earlier and Mr. Manzi, case management, once we are assigned individual case managers on the property, you will have a case manager assigned to your family, and your case manager will start working with you on a family and an individual assessment. This is a holistic assessment, which gives us a complete overview of your family, where you can identify any concerns you might have, any needs you might have. And once we complete that assessment, we sit with the family to develop a family and individual case plan. That is our roadmap. We will work with you on strategies put in place for you to be able to meet the goals that you've set for you and your family. Career and educational planning is an important piece. We will also be available to assist you with any career job updates. You just might be working, might want a better job, or you're not sure how to write a resume. All of those things as well as education. Senior services, which I will make sure to add, Todd, to our next presentation, that we put a piece in here for senior services, because we don't want our seniors to feel that we're talking about family, and our seniors are being left out. Seniors will receive 100% case management services as well as the families. Seniors, our goal is to make sure that you have all of the necessary needs that you would need for you and anyone in your household to remain stable, age in place, as we call it. So our seniors are included in our case management plan as well. I do have an update on the survey. I'm not sure if Mr. Moore wants me to wait until later on that, of the pre-move survey, and I did download a copy. So when we get to that, Todd, I can share my screen and actually show the results, as well as give a verbal overview of the outcomes. And that's all I have. There are 2 questions in the chat. They're not related to anyone that has spoke already, but I do want those 2 residents to know that I'm not ignoring your question. They will be answered, and I will repeat them after the person in that area, in that field, does that presentation. So that's all I have. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, Rosa. I would like to take a couple minutes and talk about lease compliance. Pull up the screen. So once we begin this relocation process, you're going to have decisions to make. One of those decisions is, do you want a voucher and go into rent from a landlord in the private sector, or do you prefer to rent from one of our properties? We have 38 other properties. Whatever you choose, those landlords want to know what type of tenant you've been, and they send me what's called a landlord verification form. Some of the questions that they ask are, do you pay your rent on time? Are there any lease violations? Have any evictions been filed? What's your housekeeping? Are you taking care of the unit? Do you have a lot of loud music and other nuisances? Of course, we want to be able to report that you're a tenant in good standing. So let's talk about each of these briefly. As far as rent goes, nothing has changed or will change between now and the time you're relocated in terms of you adhering to the lease requirements. You must continue to pay your rent. You must continue to abide by all the terms of the lease. Some of you have lost your employment because of COVID. Some of you have had a reduction in hours and been affected financially And there are agencies out there like Our Florida that I have on the screen now that are willing to offer assistance to you, financial assistance. This is something that you have to apply for, and I have the website listed there. They usually want to know, see a copy of your lease. They want to know how much you owe, is there any back rent that's due, what is your monthly obligation. And if you have any problem with technology, it's something that we can help you with. We'll have one of our property associates have you sign an authorization for release, or a release basically allowing us to apply on your behalf for this assistance. But the money is available to you. So if you owe back rent or you've fallen behind, it's very important between now and the time we start relocation that you make restitution on that. That is your obligation, and that will continue. Of course, if you've had a reduction in hours, you need to report that to Section 8 so they can make an adjustment in your rent. But if you have that obligation and you've fallen behind, take advantage of this now. There's another agency, the Hillsborough County R3 program, also is offering assistance. Their website's listed there as well. So if we apply on your behalf, we're going to send you the application ID, a phone number that you can use to contact, because you're still a part of that process. They may even ask you for a copy of your ID or something that you have that you would need to upload to their website. So you're still a part of that process. Okay. So take advantage of that while it's available. If you don't qualify for these two programs, see me. We'll talk about getting you on some type of a repayment plan. Of course, you still have to continue to abide by your lease. You're responsible for your guests. Your guests don't know what the lease terms are. If they're playing loud music and causing other nuisances, it's your responsibility to let them know that. If they're smoking on property, we have a no smoking property. It's a no smoking property. So it's your obligation to let them know that. Be responsible for your guests. We're trying to keep the property as clean as we can. You may see your neighbors out there picking up garbage. They're members of what we call the clean team. We have helping our staff keep things picked up. If you send your children to the garbage to take the garbage to the compactor, make sure that it makes it there. That's your responsibility. And by all means, continue to keep your home clean so that you pass your inspections and don't fail for something like that. Monitor your children's behavior. We've said it in previous meetings that too often the children will disagree and parents come out to defend their children and things escalate. So these are all things within your control to monitor and to keep a handle on, so that we don't have to issue you some type of a curable notice or non-curable notice. It's very important. So keep your house in order as you prepare for relocation, and make a good first impression on your landlord. And that's all I have for you. Are there any questions, Rosa?
No, there are no questions related to your presentation. Thank you.
Okay. The next presenter is Miss Margaret Jones. Ms. Jones is the director of the Assisted Housing Department, and she's going to talk a little bit about the advanced planning for relocation.
Thank you, Todd. Good morning, everyone. I'll wait for you to bring up the PowerPoint. So again, this is just the preparation phase before we start the relocation, and you'll hear later what that's going to look like. But I just want to start talking about what you can do right now to start preparing for the time when we do start relocating families from the property. I just want to talk about when you start searching for units, but you'll have case management services, which is one benefit that is not provided any other time. A lot of you probably on the call or at one point probably already received a voucher because you are living in a RAD property or entitled to mobility choice, and either couldn't find a unit of your choosing, or maybe it wasn't in the right area, so you decided to just go back on the wait list. The difference will be this go around is that you'll have opportunities to search for units with the help of a case manager. One of the greatest benefits of relocation, as well as you get the opportunity to search for units that we already own. All the other properties within our portfolio, which can compete very competitively with the properties in the private market. So when you start your search, of course, you want to look for support system. If you have your primary support system in the particular area that you're living now, and if you move out, what will that look like? It doesn't mean that you can't have that support system when you move, but just keep that in mind. We have a lot of families sometimes, as an example, will move all the way from New York City to Florida, to Tampa, and then realize all of their support is in New York. So then they want to port back. I mention that because once you're in a 1-year lease, you typically cannot move. So these are the things I want you to keep in mind when you're searching. And when we start the relocation process, and Mr. Moore may talk about it a little bit later, you'll have another class. It'll give you more information. So this is just to get you to start thinking about things. When you search, look for educational opportunities for your children. What are the school systems like? Are they A, B, C, D, F? Employment opportunities. So if you want to move to Riverview, Apollo Beach, do you have transportation? Where's your employment located? Because you want to make sure that you have the opportunity to go back and forth. That's one thing I think our community is kind of lacking in, is the transportation. That's a whole nother discussion. But crime, how is the crime in the area in which you want to move to? And how do you look at that? You can get calls for service. Maybe Bill can even talk about that eventually. Crimes for service in that particular jurisdiction, drive by on the weekends, at nighttime, to see what the area looks like. And then childcare, of course, that kind of runs into your support system. Do you have the support to take care of your children wherever you might go? Is the daycare facility one that you approve of? And I only say that because my daughter is searching one for Fort Myers and having a difficult time. So just so those things to kind of keep in mind when you start your search. Next slide. So right now, everyone know, and we've been talking about this for a very long time, the predicament that our market is currently in. There's wait list, there are different criteria that landlords look for, but we want you to start preparing for that. So one of the tools is that you can really log into Credit Karma. It's a free website. I think I have joined for more than 5 years now, just to get an idea of what my credit looks like. Is there anything on there that shouldn't be on there, so I can kind of dispute it? You can also get a free credit report, and you can really get with your case manager once assigned. That will help you. Plus you got staff on site already that you could ask about that. You want to kind of take a look at what your credit reporting has looked like. I talked to a realtor property manager maybe a month ago, and they said they really don't look at the credit report. What they look at is, do you have any evictions on your record? So I'm assuming that right now you probably don't. So you're probably way ahead of the game than most families. We have an influx of families coming from all over the country to this area. So we want to hopefully get you where you are already looking to the area that you want to move to. If they have a wait list for a particular property, we want you to get on the wait list. And what I learned from you guys on this call is that you probably will have to pay a fee to get on the wait. I guess they do an upfront check. I don't advise doing that yet. Get with your case manager, because we do not want you to pay this upfront check if in fact you will be denied. So we can ask certain questions for the criteria for that particular property. That way you don't have to pay that fee. So we can kind of work around that. But these are things to kind of think about. Unincorporated areas, there is a, it's not a statute, but it's a, can't really think of the language, but Hillsborough County passed protections for residents in unincorporated Hillsborough County, not within the city of Tampa, basically indicating that if you have a voucher, landlords outright can't say, hey, I don't want to rent to you because you have a Section 8 voucher. So if in fact you hear that when you're out there with your case manager, there is a complaint form that you can complete, and I have actually forwarded the form to many residents, families, so they can complete that. So unfortunately, it's not in the city of Tampa yet. I think we talked about this last time. I don't know if it went back. It will be going back for the city commissioners or city council members, but we'll kind of look into that. Next slide. Two tools that you can use right now, just kind of looking around and your case manager can help you, is one's a rental calculator tool. Before, we were a small area fair market rent agency, which means every zip code now has a different payment standard, which is how much we pay up to. There's now 52 zip codes that we have different payment standards aligned with. So we can't tell you when we issue your voucher how much that we will pay, because it really depends on the zip code. So what this tool will do is will help you determine if the rent or the apartment that you're choosing is affordable for you. And we will go over this in detail when we go through the classes. We'll show you examples, so it won't be so, unfamiliar for you. But I want you, it's on our website right now if you want to play with it. You should already have your TTP. You can kind of guess on utilities. Most utilities in the community, you are paying all utilities. Some apartment complexes include water, sewage, and trash, but not ordinarily. Ordinarily, you're going to be paying for everything. So, but when we start the classes, we will show live examples for this tool. Next slide. And the final tool is a FloridaHousingSearch.org tool. This will help you search for units in the community, Hillsborough County, outside of Hillsborough County, because you're able to port once you get that voucher. You put your zip code in, or maybe a specific address, and it will help you it will pull up apartment complexes, homes, and then they'll show you the rental amounts, but I'll give you opportunity to start looking for those units. We ask all of our landlords to post on this particular website, but that doesn't necessarily mean they do that. There are other websites that you can use, and we will go over that as well in the more thorough program. So I'm here, of course, till the end if you have any questions. So thank you.
Okay, I'll go back to the beginning with the questions. Will residents have a choice of which public housing community they choose to relocate to due to job, family, and children? Childcare. So Ms. Jones just answered that question for everyone to make sure that they look for areas where they have support around their jobs, their childcare, those kinds of things. So yes, you will have a choice to choose which public housing or community you want to go to. Ms. Jones, who do we email around rent to own? Someone stated that they emailed someone and they didn't get an answer back regarding rent to own.
Yeah, I put a response to that. I don't know who. I'm not perfect, so hopefully it didn't come to me and I missed it. But you have to have a voucher, of course, for rent to own purposes, and then you have to have a willing landlord. So once you get the voucher, we can go into detail about that. But the rent to own is really, do you have a willing landlord to participate? And then it has to go through the legal process. So when you get the voucher, we can definitely go into detail about that. But the main point is a landlord or owner, not a landlord, the owner must be willing to rent to own.
Okay. Is there a list of other properties? Can we get a list of properties that you own so we can have some idea of where we would like to move?
Todd is shaking his head yes, so we will definitely supply that.
Is there assistance to those who will be porting out to another county when it's time to move?
What do they mean, assistance? I mean,
if they're porting, how does that work? If their choice is to port out of Hillsborough County, how would that work during relocation?
Well, I don't know about the support part. That would be a question for you guys. I don't know about the security deposit if we do that outside of the county, but porting is really tricky. And whenever we do these relocations, I always discourage it. And I'm sorry to say that. But again, you can port wherever you choose to. I would always make sure that wherever you are going, and we'll go into detail about this, wherever you are going, that you already have potentially a rental in mind, you have support there, because we don't want you porting to another state, county, and then you lose your voucher. So we want to track that. Can you? Yes. When that process starts, all we'll do is gather up all your documents and send it to this other PHA, wherever PHA you want to go to. And then you will contact them. They'll issue the voucher again, do their screening, and then that's the process, really. Same thing, but different agencies, a little bit longer.
Okay, I'll repeat this question because this resident wants to make sure I'm not ignoring the question, is will they get to choose which property they want to move to? And that's THA property. I believe I answered yes, residents will have the option to choose, but I'm repeating it because I want to make sure that this resident feels comfortable with the answer and know that we're not ignoring the question, okay? Can we put back the resources again? I'm not sure which resources they're asking for. I'll email this resident. I'll link this resident directly to see which information that they're asking that we put back. What's the name of the realty company? I'm not sure, Ms. Jones, I don't know if you gave out a specific realty company.
No, this was a realty company because they have listings in unincorporated Hillsborough County, and they wanted to make sure that they were doing the right thing. So no, it's just one of the realtor companies in the community.
Okay, the payment standards on THA is not the same as HUD on each zip code. What is that?
Well, the FMRs, the fair market rents, are released annually. Then housing authorities across the country then make a determination from the FMRs. Do they want to go from 90% to 110%? That's what PHAs have to look at, and they base it on the market, budgeting, et cetera. Just recently, THA raised the payment standards to 110% at this given point in time.
Okay, and this is the same question again. Do we have a say in which public housing property we'd like to relocate to? And that answer is yes. Someone's not from here and they're trying to port back. You just addressed the port. Can you provide an outline on a flyer now and not wait until the time comes to understand before relocating how the port out works?
We could, but it may get lost in the mix. I would rather wait until we do the actual, because we could do the education now, but when you get ready to port, it might be 3 months later and we'd have to do it again. We're going to cover this in the educational meetings. So at that time, we can definitely give that information to you.
Okay, does voucher amounts account for inflation?
HUD releases the FMRs every year based on inflation, if you will, inflation. You guys have to remember that Tampa is the third largest growing community in the country. So that's why we raised it to 110%. FMRs come out again in October of this year. So again, I'm willing to bet they will go up. But I don't want that mindset to really start feeding the anxiety that you're going to probably start feeling. Just relax. You're going to find units. We're going to help you find units. We're still having negotiations with landlords. We have a housing navigator bridging that gap. We're always in constant communication. I am constantly monitoring the market, and we're seeing a cooling a little bit of. So anyway, I don't want you to start feeling that anxiety. We are going to help you through this process, okay?
Okay, and the last call is moving out now versus waiting until relocation. So That is something that I've been addressing with residents individually, helping them understand. So I'm looking at Lex's iPhone. If you would send me an email, and I'll put my email in the chat, or anyone else that's interested in understanding what happens if you decide to take a voucher and leave now versus waiting for relocation. And that's all of the questions and comments in the chat.
Right, thank you, Rosa and Margaret. Our final presenter is our Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Leroy Moore, and he's going to talk about the schedule of activities.
All right, thank you, Todd, and thanks everybody for the information you've provided, and thank you all of our residents who have joined today. We're up to 44 total participants, so this was a really good turnout for today. I'm just going to try to cover and recap some of what you've already heard today, just for emphasis, and also hopefully give you a little bit better idea of the schedule. And as I said 2 weeks ago, the closer we get to getting the relocation plan submitted to HUD, the more certainty the schedule gets. And as of last week, we have now completed the survey of all of the residents to get your preference for relocation off the site. So we are now going to work that into the relocation plan that I'm literally working on right now. I hope to actually complete this relocation plan by tomorrow. This will be a draft relocation plan. Starting next week, we will start making copies and getting these copies in draft form to all of the households at Robles Park, because you all get a copy of this relocation plan. It's going to be about a 50-page document, a little bit less than 50 pages, but we will copy this. It'll be stamped as draft, so please don't hold this and be using it 2 years from now, because it's a draft. And we get a draft and we circulate it and get it to you. We'll put it on our website as well, because we want you to review it and give us some feedback. And we're going to have 4 weeks of feedback. So we will use the next 4 weeks after next week to actually get feedback from you. We'll continue to have these meetings every 2 weeks. We will hopefully get some feedback from you in 2 weeks when we have our next meeting. And then 2 weeks after that, when we have our second meeting after getting the relocation plan disseminated out to you. Because we want you to read it, give us comment, ask us questions, make sure it's clear, see if the actual relocation plan is going to work for your various household needs. And everybody has some very special needs. We want to make sure that the relocation plan tries to anticipate as many of those unique circumstances as possible. So we're really going to be asking you on a continual basis for the next 4 weeks, do you have any comments on this relocation plan? Once we get all your comments back, and I'm predicting that we will close the comment period from you by the middle of April. So this will go out next week. We'll receive comments for 4 weeks. We'll close the comment period. We will then revise the plan for final, and that should only take a couple of days. And then we'll submit it to HUD by April 15th. We typically give HUD 30 to 45 days to approve it. Once we get HUD approval, we're clear to start relocation. So at this point, the best guess for when relocation might be able to start would be June. Okay, so the plan will go to HUD mid-April or late April. We will give them through the end of May, let's say, to approve it. And we should be, clear to start relocating in June sometime. We're going to give you more and more schedule certainty the closer we get to that date, but that's the best estimate we can give you right now as to when moving can start. Now, you have to do certain things before you can move off site. We have a relocation plan, and this relocation plan that you'll get next week will actually talk specifically about what your obligations are in order to be cleared for relocation. We have met internally, and we've decided that we're going to go ahead and start getting the training materials, getting the sign-in sheets and that kind of stuff available to start doing relocation training, the Relocation 101, Supportive Services 101, Section 8 101, and Realities of Section 8. These are mandatory classes that you have to attend. We're going to try to make all those virtual so that it's going to be a lot easier for you to attend. We will have them on site for those of you that don't want to sit on a 1 hour long virtual meeting, Zoom meeting. We will have some of the classes on site, and you'll have to sign up because we'll have limited numbers of people in each of those classes, but we'll have plenty of dates for that. The soonest you will see training starting would be mid to late April. We have to get the relocation plan into HUD. Once the relocation plan goes to HUD, we'll actually start the training. We still can't move you until after HUD approves the relocation plan, but we can at least go ahead and start training you while HUD is reviewing the relocation plan. And that way we can get some of you cleared for relocation while HUD is reviewing and hopefully approving our plan. Once we get the approval, we then can go ahead and start issuing vouchers or making assignments of other public housing units so that you can then start scheduling your move. Once relocation starts, it's going to take a full year before the last family move off site. So nobody should leave thinking that you got to move in June or that you got to move in July. That's when we will start the relocation process. Every family is going to be different. Those of you that want to be at the first of the line, sign up for the classes as soon as they get posted. Do all that you need to do when you meet with the relocation manager and the case managers, and you should be at the front of the line. Those of you that would like to wait until the school term starts again next year, that makes sense for your family. You got plenty of time to do that. We won't finish relocation until June or July of 2023, a whole year after we start relocation. We've done a lot of these relocations. We know how long it's going to take. And most of the staff that will be working with you have been through relocations before. So we think this will be an efficient relocation, but it's still going to have to follow that same process that we've used with others. So that's sort of a recap. Rosa, did you go over the survey results? I wasn't able to actually hear your presentation.
No, I actually did not go over the survey results, but I can share my screen if you want to see a printed copy. But
let's do that now.
them. Okay.
But as all of you know, for the last month, we've been asking questions and getting you to complete surveys so that you can inform us as to the relocation approach. We can only do one. We can only either move everybody off site, demolish everything at once, or we can move everybody, on the site to another unit on the site and not have to vacate the site at all. That was the option 1 or option 2 choices that you had. And go ahead, take it away, Rosa, and give us the results of the survey.
Okay, so the results of the survey is we had 120 out of 170 residents complete the survey, which give us about a 70% outcome of residents. As you can see here, 70%, a little over 70% chose the Section 8 voucher as their choice. 37%, 21%, 37 families chose moving to another public housing. 13, which is a little less than 8%, chose to remain at Robles during relocation. So I don't know if you want me to go all the way down.
Yeah, so if you could pause right there, Rosa. So 70% chose, and you can change your mind. If you chose Section 8 and 3 months later you decide you want public housing, you will have the ability to change. We just need to try to get a snapshot at this time so that we could complete the relocation plan and inform HUD what the majority of our families want. So this is telling us that the vast majority of our families, if you total the 70% and the 21%, that's 92+%. of the families at Robles are choosing to relocate off the site, to leave Robles, either on a Section 8 voucher or on a public housing unit. So overwhelmingly, most people want to leave the site. That means we'll have a single phase relocation. That means everybody has to move off site. Everybody who moves off site has the right to come back once the new units are built. But we won't be able to just keep you on site while we tear down half of the other half of the site. We're going to do a single phase relocation is what that tells us. That also tells us that we're going to need at least 70% of the families choosing vouchers. We're going to need at least that many Section 8 vouchers to be freed up. Our Section 8 department, uses that information to plan with so that we make sure we have the vouchers available for you. That's not going to be a problem. And then thirdly, that tells us that about 21+% of the people are going to want to move to other public housing units. So we look at all of our other public housing sites, we look at how many move-outs we have per month, and we determine if indeed we're going to have enough vacancies to satisfy the moves from Robles. And these are fairly small numbers. We will be able to accommodate everybody who wants another public housing unit. We will be able to accommodate everybody who wants a Section 8 voucher. Okay? So thanks, Rosa, for sharing that information. We can get to questions now. I think that's all we have for today. In another 2 weeks, once again, next week, you're all going to get a copy of the relocation plan in draft form. You can start going through it, marking it up. You can email our staff with any questions. You can call your case manager with any questions, or you can come to the next relocation meeting in 2 weeks with some questions, because we're going to be asking you to give us questions for the next 4 weeks. You can stop the share now, and we can take any questions that remain.
Okay, questions. Seems like the date keeps moving back. That's the first comment that's up there. Can we start the classes now, which you addressed? As soon as we put the schedule out, residents are welcome to sign up either virtual or in person for those classes. One comment, we won't be moving until next year, but you addressed that as well. It's up to a family's preference how long they want to wait to start taking the classes based on their own situation. Got a lot of comments about the timeline. Seems like the timeline keeps changing. Okay, if you port, do you still have the option to come back to Robles Park, which you just answered that question. If you're a relocated family, and I've been doing this for 20 years, so I believe I can answer the question. Yes, case management will work with you through the relocation process. We will follow you while the development is being built back, and we will make sure you know when it's time to move back. Make sure that you have a choice to move back, and we work with you through the move back process. So that is something that the Housing Authority has been doing since I've been here for the last 20 years. There's some personal stuff about the move. Is it necessary to take a Section 8 even if a person prefers to remain in housing? As Mr. Moore stated, even though you may have put Section 8 as your housing choice on the survey, we understand that family situation change, and you will have the option to change your mind at the time of relocation. If you want to move back to public housing instead of Section 8, you will still be given that option, okay? When will the classes be posted? Mr. Moore just said we will be starting that around mid to late April. So those classes will be posted probably early April to make sure that we have registration ready to start at mid to late April. So those are all the questions. I don't know if you want to open it up if someone has a verbal question that they want to ask.
Certainly. So if anyone has any questions that you didn't put in the chat, if it's easier for you to unmic and ask it, you can do that now.
Yes, Leroy, how you doing? This is Mike Randolph.
Yes,
this one question today. Could you share with us lessons learned from previous relocation projects that you can share with us so that we don't fall into those mistakes?
Yeah, we've learned a lot of lessons. And once again, I think one thing we've learned is that it always takes longer than you plan. So you can't predict HUD approval. We can't predict resident response, quite frankly. Remember, we've been trying to get survey results for the last 5 weeks, I want to say, and we got 170 respondents. We wanted to get all 300 families responding to that survey so that we could say to HUD, 100% of our residents have given us this advice. We can now say to HUD, 170 of our 300 families have given us this advice. So it goes both ways. You got to help us in order for us to help you. It always takes longer, but we've got to get the information. So, we could have cut the survey off after a week, but that would have, only given us 10% or 20% of the families having participated. Same thing with the relocation plan now. That's going to go out next week. We're preparing for 4 weeks for people to actually review it. Give us your comments as early as possible. Even if you just, have one comment on it, get that comment into us or call the staff person so that we can actually know your approval of the relocation plan so that we then can represent that to HUD. But these things always take longer than you can schedule because people work at different paces. But
Mr. Moore, I'm sorry.
We have to get it done the right way, and that means giving people ample opportunity to provide input, and that's always the best way. That was another question.
Mr. Moore, if I could just chime in with one of the things that we find can hold people up is not responding to case management, not getting that information in, not returning phone calls, not allowing yourself to work with us and help us help you. So that is, in my 20 years, has been a big issue with residents taking longer to respond back and take advantage of services that are being offered to help you prepare. Even after you leave, the services we offer will help you prepare for coming back. So please open your doors, your minds, your hearts to working with case management, and we will help you walk through this process as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and let me just sort of add one more, and I always remind people of this. Come to the meetings, whether they're in person or they're online. Hear it yourself, because we always have rumors that get started every time we do a relocation process. And I say to folks, if you didn't hear it from my mouth, I didn't say it, okay? Don't listen to a person who heard it from somebody who heard it from somebody who heard it from somebody else. Get it yourself. Come to the meetings, hear it yourself, ask the question yourself. Don't rely on somebody else interpreting this information and your opportunities for you, because there's some incredibly good opportunities that are going to be provided through this relocation process. And you want to know what's best for your family, not what's best for somebody else's. And the only way you're going to do that is to get the information yourself and ask the questions yourself. Your situation is going to be very different from your neighbor's situation. Okay? Anybody else? You can unmute and ask your question.
So just one question that was in the chat, will I have the option to port back to Tampa if I choose to port out now? And that's port back after the Robles is rebuilt.
Yeah, that's a good question. We haven't had that one before. Margaret.
Yeah, you can definitely port back. You have to, of course, once you're there, you lease for 1 year, then you can request to port back, most definitely.
Let's see, were there any more added to the chat log, Rosa? Nope.
I'm on mute. No, there's no more in the chat. Just residents are asking for a list of properties.
Okay.
They would just have to go to floridahousingsearch.org. That's where we really ask landlords to go to.
Yeah, and they may also be asking about a list of our properties as well. So we
Oh,
should
yes,
probably
yes, yes.
post a list of our properties as well. And we haven't really talked about it, but as part of our relocation process, not only do you have to attend all those classes, those are mandatory. But what's not mandatory that we hope everybody attends is the familiarization tours. We will be doing tours of all of our properties. The Housing Authority has 29 properties in this community. And most of you may only know about 3 or 4 of our properties. We want to put you on a bus, drive you through the city, show you all of our properties so that you know where Gardens at South Bay is, where Encore, and West River, and Renaissance, and Soho, and all these other properties that you may not have actually seen or heard of, show you the neighborhoods that they're in so that you can make a much more informed decision. So those are called familiarization tours. And it's a big bus, you know, because of COVID, we're going to probably have to actually have fewer people on the bus. But in the past, we've had these 50 passenger buses. So we may only be able to have 15 or 20 at a time on these big buses. It's an all-day tour. You'll be able to sign up for it. It's not mandatory, but it's highly recommended. So that will start, you know, at some point after the training starts as well.
Okay, one last thing, if you could just explain moving to a public housing site versus getting a voucher. So the vouchers is for Section 8 and not for housing. So if someone could just explain the difference so residents are not confused.
Yep, and I'll start. I'll do that. If you're interested in one of our other 29 properties, you just, you know, that's for us called a transfer. So we literally transfer you from Robles to Seminole, or from Robles to, you know, Renaissance, or whatever the site is. But you will let us know your top 3 sites. You will say, hey, my first choice is this, second choice is this, third choice is that. Some of our sites might not have very many vacancies, so you want to make more than one choice. And then we try to get you in your highest choice. You know, so that's sort of how we do the public housing transfers. It's a transfer to another public housing unit at another property.
Last question, is this information from today will be posted on the website for residents to go back and review? So I don't know, Todd, if we're posting this link on the website or not, but we do have links from previous meetings on the site.
Yeah, Todd, why don't we put this, because this one's being recorded. We can actually just upload this one so that we've got a fresh recording. Because this information is getting a little bit more specific each time we do this. So we have a recording from an earlier meeting up now. We'll replace that with today's recording.
Okay, there are no more questions in the chat.
See you all in 2 weeks. Hopefully with some.
Let me add a comment, if you don't mind. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Jerome, we hear you.
Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody understands this is a journey, and that's the way we've always treated relocate as a journey. And it's going to be stops along the way. It's going to be detours along the way. So everybody has to manage patience. I think that's important. Patience is what it's all about, because things don't work out the way we always want them to work out. So just be patient and understand this is a journey. That's it.
Indeed, indeed. All right. So thank you, everyone, for coming today, and we'll see hopefully a lot of you back in 2 weeks.
Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yep.